Welcome to the Talking the Line podcast, presented to you by Talking the Line Sports Media, giving you our best insights and analysis so you can rake in some cold hard cash on your next sports bet. Now sit on back, open up your mind, and let's cash some tickets. We can't thank you enough for joining us. We hope you enjoy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, degenerates, gamblers, New Orleans Saints fans, fans of the NFL Shield, NFL football bettors, fantasy football players, anybody I might have left out, far and wide. Welcome in to episode number 111 of the Talking the Line podcast, and as always, thank you so much for taking a few moments out of your day to come and kick it with the crew on this beautiful August 26th, 2021. Once again, thank you for stopping back by. Had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're back rocking and rolling here as always. Got to do the usual, you know the drill. If you haven't already, make sure you smash that subscribe button on whatever platform you are currently ingesting the Talking the Line podcast on. If you are watching live on YouTube, you might as well hit that notification bell as well so you never miss the start of a live show located right over there. But if you are listening to the audio version on your favorite podcast directory, make sure you hit that subscribe button there as well if you haven't already. That way you never miss the drop of any audio, as we do release it after every live show is over. Next item up on the docket, as always, you can find it in your heart. You got an extra second, hit that like button, leave us a comment, leave us a rating, jump in the live chat over yonder if you are watching live. We would love to answer all your New Orleans Saints questions and more, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate it when you do, and it only helps us make TTL Sports Media bigger and better for each and every one of you. Last, but certainly not least, head on over to this episode's description, where you will locate the Talking the Line link tree. Within that link tree, you will find the talkingtheline.com website, all of the TTL crew's social platforms, and our additional content, so you can consume all of that, however and whenever you please. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful people, everyone in between that I might have left out starting the show, welcome in to episode 111. Once again, I am your humble host, Colt 45 Soroka. And before we go anywhere, thank you so much for stopping back by. Had a little bit of technical difficulty starting off the day. It sure does appear right now that everything is in good working order. Everything is up to speed as it would appear. Sometimes got to put the old producer hat on, but it's all about battling that adversity, and we're unafraid of that here at the Talking the Line podcast. So you might have heard a little voice there in the background. If you're watching live or you're watching on YouTube, you see him. So it's time to bring that man on in, the co-host of the Talking the Line podcast, who was so kind to keep the show floating as I was trying to get everything figured on out. Outside of that, a young man whose White Sox fandom runs thicker than blood, right alongside his Green Bay Packers fandom, and in a few short 2 weeks, he will be cheering them on Sunday, and I suggest you do not hit him up in any form or fashion, as he will be indisposed. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the degenerate gambling legend himself, Mr. Riley RMags Magnuson. Partner, how you doing over there today, pal?
My man, I am doing just spectacular, aside from my fumbling words, but nonetheless, I mentioned it earlier on the first try, if you heard me, it is a beautiful day in the Windy City. No filibuster in this time around because we are rocking and rolling. I'm ready to dive into this New Orleans Saints team, playing my Packers in week 1. So, I've, got a little bit of an interest in diving into this team a little bit further today, despite, I guess, diving in about as deep as we've dove in every single week. But nonetheless, I'm ready to get rocking and rolling on some Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, and whoever the hell else is involved in this team here, partner.
Absolutely. I had to just double check everything. It looks like we're good to go. I am now 100% focused as the host of your show. Nothing else I should worry about here. It looks like everything's clipping right along. But yes, partner, we have a shitload to discuss here today. There's a lot of injuries happening in New Orleans. There's a lot of guys that retired or left town. There's a lot of question marks as per usual. But with the Saints, this might be one of the teams that has the most question marks that we covered, at least as far as who's starting and what are we actually going to see here in 2021. But if you wanted to know all of that, you came to the right place because we'll be answering all those questions. We'll be breaking down everything offensively, defensively. We'll be talking about the coaching staff. We'll also dive into their schedule, give you our predictions. We'll go through a full season betting preview. We'll dive week by week in 2021, and then we'll also talk some future side bets you should be targeting ahead of the season. And then we'll close things out with our fourth and final segment, the start, stash, or pass segment, our best fantasy advice. If you couldn't deduct that, we are fantasy lovers at the end of the day. We have been playing for the better part of a decade, I would say. So definitely found a little bit of value here, but it's going to take finding diamond in the rough and hope a few of these guys pop off. But there's definitely some brand names you still know about we can target. However, we'll save all of that for the fourth and final segment of the day. But for now, before we bring up the team of the day, you already got it in hand, partner. Ready for it. Quick little cheers to you. You're sipping on the Joe this morning. Cheers to you out there.
Got a perfect mix this morning. Once again, a little witch's brew, a little home cooking, a little Colts cooking. It is a perfect mix, my man. Could sell that bad boy. Whistle? Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to rock and roll. Once again, battling some adversity here at the TTL Pod. No problem whatsoever. It's time to get into the show today. Finally, officially, a little bit behind schedule, so we're going to go a little bit faster than usual. Keep it moving through the first two segments of the day. For today's team of the day, the New Orleans Saints. First segment of the day, up on tap, ready to rock and roll. The full team breakdown for the New Orleans Saints. As always, we'll kick things off offensively, jump over to the defensive side of the ball, and then talk a little bit about the coaching staff. I'll kick things off offensively with the key losses going here into 2021. They let a good handful of guys go, and then we had one big name retire, the name we'll all know about, Drew Brees, quarterback. He is gone, done with the NFL for good, and it does not look like he will ever come back. Some quarterbacks might take a little break for a year or two and then maybe make a run back with another team. Doesn't look like that's going to happen with Drew. Manuel Sanders, wide receiver, he is out of town with Jake Kumaro as well. They both went to the Bills. 3 more receivers left in New Orleans this year. Austin Carr, Benny Fowler, and Justin Hardy. They let go 2 tight ends, Jared Cook and Josh Hill. We talked a little bit about Jared Cook in Los Angeles, the Chargers this year. Very interested to see what he does. Cole Wick, also a tight end, so they did let 3 tight ends go, so a little bit of depth loss there. Michael Burton, fullback, and then Nick Eason, center. That is all the fellas that they let go on the offensive side of the ball. Few names you can really write home about: Drew Brees, Emmanuel Sanders, and what we've seen from Jake Kumaro. I know you hate that name now, especially being a Packers fan, but with all that being said, that is the key offensive losses. Partner, would you be so kind as to indulge us? What's up with the key offensive additions here for the Saints?
Most definitely. Nothing too crazy here. Not too much to write home at all about. Out of free agency, they did fill the tight end depth a little bit. They picked up Nick Van Nett. He looks like he's going to be the number 2 tight end here for the Saints. That's about it for free agency and trades. As far as the draft go, 3 players on offense, nobody before the 4th round. 4th round, they picked up Ian Book, quarterback out of Notre Dame. If you've been a college football fan, you know that name. He looks like he could be the 3rd or 4th quarterback option out of this room. 6th round, offensive tackle Landon Young out of Kentucky, and then 7th round, Kawan Baker, South Alabama. So really, the only guy that appears to be a big contributor, and I shouldn't even say big contributor, is Nick Van Nett at that number 2 tight end spot, partner.
I would have to agree with you there. Now, we'll definitely talk about what we think about some of those guys and who we think's contributing and some of their outlooks in 2021 offensively. But before we do, let's quickly talk about 2020 here, some of the key stats. As far as offense goes for the Saints last year, obviously it's going to look a little bit different, so we'll have to talk a little bit about what we expect here. They averaged 5.7 yards per play, rushed the ball on 46.95% of their plays, and passed on 53.05% of their plays. Completion percentage across the board, 70.13%. Obviously, majority of that being Drew Brees. Third down conversion, 46.61%, and red zone scoring at 71.62%. So right off the bat, you see the red zone scoring. Obviously, that's probably due for a little bit of regression, especially with Drew Brees leaving town. The third down conversion was already not the greatest, so I don't know necessarily that it gets any better, especially with this unit. I have a lot of concerns, a lot of question marks, but let's talk about this projected starting lineup before we talk about any of those question marks. As far as it looks right now, there's a lot of... I keep saying it, but there's a lot of question marks on the offensive side of the ball. Who is going to be starting? What's going to be happening? So I'll talk about that as I go through here. Offensive line-wise, they look to be in pretty good shape. Ryan Ramczyk on right tackle, right guard, Cesar Ruiz, center, Eric McCoy, left guard, Andrews Pete, and then left tackle, Teron Armstead. One of the better offensive lines in the leagues, and I think with all of those names, they continue to do so once again. Now, as far as the tight end position goes, little bit of shakiness here. Adam Troutman had what looked to be a severe injury in the preseason, preseason week 1. Was doing some reading up on it. It does appear that he missed a major injury, but he probably won't be available for week 1 of the regular season. So then that opens up the door to a bunch of guys who we have absolutely no idea. Juwan Johnson, Garrett Griffin, Dylan Soner, Nick Van Nett, which could possibly come in and fill in, and then Ethan Wolf. Say out of those names, it would probably be Nick Van Nett, especially with them going and picking him up in free agency. I think that would be the guy who would slot in, but they really put all their chips in the pile on Troutman this year, so they need him back bad. Wide receiver room, there is a lot of worry there. Obviously, Michael Thomas being out, we don't really know when exactly he's going to be back, so then that leaves you Traquan Smith in the slot, Deontay Harris opposite of Michael Thomas, but now does he become wide receiver 1? Then you have Marquez Callaway, who's been showing out in the preseason, and I think he could slot in as a wide receiver 1, and I think that's what he's trying to do. And then the lone wide receiver the Saints took in the draft, Kawan Baker, he's behind them, so with the injury to Thomas, could be seeing work sooner rather than later. They do have other guys on the depth chart, but that looks like what it'll be right now as far as the guys they'll use immediately. They obviously weren't intended to use Kawan Baker right off the bat, but it looks like they've got themselves, or Michael Thomas got them into a situation where they're probably going to have to. And then as far as the rest of the skill positions go, running backs, you obviously know AK, Alvin Kamara coming in again. Latavius Murray backing him up. Latavius Murray not all the way out yet. He's right at 31, 32 right now, so he's getting up there, but he's still able to produce, be a very, very top-tier side option behind Kamara. And then the quarterbacks. We had old famous Jameis Winston light it up in preseason week 2, and then Taysom Hill did decent work in preseason week 1. In my opinion, from what we've seen so far, and I think with Sean Payton saying, I'm not going to name a starter yet, I think he was surprised how good Jameis looked in week 2, and I honestly was as well. So I think that Jameis is going to end up getting a start here week 1, and I think he has the capability to do some things. I mean, if he was hitting the receivers who are the projected 3rd, 4th guys on the depth chart in the preseason, those guys are going to be the starters in the regular season. So definitely something to think about there. That is kind of all of my opinions, kind of the holes, exactly what's going to happen. Barter, I know you can elaborate a little bit deeper. What are you feeling here offensively for the Saints in 2021?
Yeah, very similar to you, partner. I truly do think Jameis Winston is going to get that start. I think the ceiling with him is just a little bit higher, much higher, honestly, if he's playing well than Taysom Hill's is. And contrary to what we saw in Tampa Bay, I think some of his efficiency will improve with Sean Payton as his play caller. And not to mention, call me crazy, but I'm not saying it's going to be having him as an elite quarterback, but him having his eyes actually, surgically fixed, I don't think that's nothing, man. No, I truly don't. Because you saw him. He was literally, they didn't call him Jameis Squinston for nothing. He was a squinting machine, and now that appears to be gone. So call me crazy, but I don't think that's nothing. But as you mentioned, I think the receiver room is the clear biggest question mark here, because last year they kind of overcame it in certain times, but they really didn't have a very healthy receiver room throughout the entire year. The couple games that they did, they looked very solid. Now, Emmanuel Sanders is out of town. Michael Thomas, as you mentioned, who knows what's going to happen with him this year. So a lot of the pressure falls on these other receivers. And Marquez Callaway picked up some of that slack in a couple of games last year. So if he's healthy, I like his possibility of potential here. But nonetheless, if Michael Thomas is gone for even half the season, I worry about this receiver room. I think the depth of it is going to look really, really ugly. And then Troutman himself, I think if he is coming back healthy, as you mentioned, they put a lot of chips down on him. So if he is healthy, I have some optimism for him, but the health is a concern. So I am really, really concerned about whether it's Jameis or Taysom Hill. I do think it's going to be Jameis. I think I am a little concerned about who he's going to be throwing to and where the targets are going to go to this year, because offensive line and running back, those are two of the better units in the entire league. So I have no concerns there, but still plenty of question marks here, partner.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo that statement 150%. You don't have to worry at all about the offensive line, and you don't have to worry at all about the running backs.
No.
It was a big problem for them last year, the health of their wide receiver room. You mentioned it, and now the guys who were actually able to produce, they shipped out of town, and they're depending on a bunch of guys who we don't really know if they can produce or not. They've shown flashes here or there. The jury's really out if they're going to be able to consistently produce through the course of the season while Michael Thomas is out. So that's going to be huge. And then, Jameis Winston looks like a fixed quarterback, but can he sustain it over the course of the season? We'll obviously talk about that more in depth once we get some into the betting preview, the schedule prediction, stuff like that. But that's our overall offensive outlook for the Saints this season. Now, before we move on into the defense, right quick, let's talk about the key rankings courtesy of the guys over at SFA. Quarterback room comes in ranked as the 24th unit in the league, so not much faith coming in for Mr. Winston or Mr. Hill. The offensive line comes in ranked as the second unit in the league, so definitely backs up what we're saying about that O-line. And then also the running backs, third-ranked unit in the league. If Latavius Murray has a better than average season, they could be number one in the league, no question in my mind, just because of the sheer three-down threat of AK, not only from rushing perspective, but also a pass-catching perspective. And then the receivers, pretty much in agreement with you and me as well, 22nd ranked unit in the league, and I think they could get closer to 25, 26. I really don't anticipate all too many of the guys in this room really producing much. I love Marquez Callaway. I think he's been really good, really dominant so far, and I think he probably might be worth a look in fantasy, and we'll talk about that, and I think he definitely is one of the key pieces for their offensive success this year. But obviously not a wide receiver one, so do you want to put all your eggs in that basket, if you will? But just something to think about. We'll talk about it more in depth once we get into start, stash, or pass and all of that good stuff. We're only about 12 minutes over schedule here, so nothing too bad from where we're usually at. So let's get into the defensive side of the ball. First things first, partner, why don't you hit us with it? The key defensive losses going into 2021.
Alrighty, so this was a very solid, very good unit the last few years. They did lose a few pieces this year, though. Not any of their major contributors, but a few guys that played some key roles. Alex Anzalone, linebacker, played 16 games, spent the last 4 years in New Orleans. He is out of town. Janoris Jenkins played 13 games at the cornerback position. He is out of town. Malcolm Brown, interior defensive line, 13 games. Sheldon Rankins also on the interior. He played 12 games. The biggest one partner, though, Trey Hendrickson off the edge, 15 games, had 13 and a half sacks last year for this team. That is a massive loss to fill. He is in Cincinnati now. And then the other last one here is DJ Swearinger, played 11 games. But Hendrickson, by far, the biggest loss here. The other guys are a little bit of some depth pieces, but 13 and a half sacks is going to be tough to make up for this year, partner.
It definitely is, and I don't necessarily know that they were able to backfill enough to be able to get that done or fill that void, but we'll certainly see. They brought in Tano Pasagnan off the edge, $2.29 million deal, so we'll see if he's able to fill any of that void. They also brought back, we didn't know if it was for sure going to happen or not, but Quan Alexander, linebacker. So now it looks like that Quan Alexander, Demario Davis combination will once again be intact for 2021. And then as far as the draft goes, they picked up Peyton Turner, defensive end out of Houston. So once again, maybe a void filler there. Pete Warner, linebacker out of Ohio State, who could see some time on the field sooner rather than later. And then Paulson Adebo, who is a defensive back out of Stanford, who also could see the field rather soon, besides rather later. That came out very weird. Let's keep it moving right along. As far as the defense goes, we'll talk about the projected starters here. It's actually kind of up in the air still, the projected starters. But as far as 2020 goes, they allowed opponents to average 5.8 5.0 yards per play, so straight up 5 yards per play. Opponent completion percentage was at 59.77% across the board, but they did play a little bit of a weak schedule last year. Opponent third down conversion percent was at 37.61, so again, kind of plays into that schedule. And then in the red zone, the opponent scored at 65.52%. So compared to all those numbers, a big disparity in the red zone that I think they're going to have to correct here in 2021. I believe they have the guys to do it. They have a lot of top tier names, but I don't know if just having top tier names is really going to be the best thing. And if they're really going to have the cohesion they need to put up the numbers they need to win some games and keep the Saints in it. Because I don't know how many points the offense is going to put up, even though they looked spectacular against the Jaguars' second string last week. That all being said, the Saints defense projected into 2021. You have Cam Jordan on the left end and then Marcus Davenport on the right end. Obviously, Marcus Davenport might be rotated in there with somebody who knows exactly what that depth will be. But as far as it goes, he should be the week one starter. Then you have Shai Tuttle and David Onyemata in the middle. Those guys are lockdown starters. Might have a few depth pieces behind them to potentially add, but for now, they're locked in. And then just told you, Demario Davis and Quan Alexander look to be the two linebackers rounding out the front seven. But Pete Warner coming in out of Ohio State, very, very lackluster in coverage, but a blitzer and a half. So if they can groom up his coverage, which Sean Payton has been able to just groom rookie players year in and year out. So I think they have no problem, and he finds some serious value on this defense. Now, as far as the secondary, a little bit worrisome to me. They have Marshawn Lattimore on one side. In the slot next to him, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And then it was projected to be Patrick Robinson, but Patrick Robinson retires before the season starts. So now, is it going to be Paulson Odebo? Is it Odebo? Is it going to be, they have a few other options.
Ken
Crawley. It's really going to be up in the air who's going to exactly take that spot. And then in the deep secondary, they have Marcus Williams and Malcolm Jenkins. So obviously two names that have been in the league for a while. Very good deep backfield tandem. Might be one of the shining spots of this secondary. However, both those guys are getting up in years as well. So Saints are kind of running into this problem where their team's getting real old real fast, and they had two guys retire in 1 year. You hate to see that. I mean, for their sake, I hope they can put it together in or on the defensive side of the ball. For my sake, as a Bears fan, for NFC fans, I hope they have no chance whatsoever. But I don't expect a whole lot out of this defense. I actually am going to temper my expectations a little bit from what we've seen over the course of the last few seasons, just because of what I said, how to kind of kick things off there. They have a lot of top-tier talent and names, but I don't know how well they actually put that together here in 2021. And it leaves a lot of, I've said it a lot today, it leaves a lot of question marks in my mind. So I'm not super high on him, partner. Where are you feeling for the 2021 Saints defense?
Okay, I am. Sounds like I'm a little bit higher on them than you are. Having said that, I am still thinking that they regress compared to what they have been the last few years, whether it's age, like you said, or losing some of that depth, like I mentioned, and Trey Hendrickson and his 13.5 sacks. So I do still think they're going to be a top half defense. I guess I don't know where you slot them as far as,
that would be where I'd say, yeah.
For sure. So I do still think they're going to be a top half defense.
A top 5 defense.
Right, exactly. So I think they're going to be closer to the top 10 range, in my opinion. Yeah, and then as far as Pete Werner, Quan Alexander, I think Pete Werner is going to learn a lot this year. It seems to me that they must have brought Quan Alexander back because they're still a little skeptical as far as what Werner can bring to them if he were the everyday starter or every snap starter. So I think that's big reason why they brought Quan Alexander back in. But aside from that, kind of as you said, I think there will be a little bit of regression while they'll still show some flashes, whether it's their individual players or their defense as a whole as being, I guess, vintage Saints defense over the last few years. But for the most part, I guess I echo a lot of your statements, partner. And I think we do see some, I don't want to say serious regression, but definitely some regression nonetheless.
Definitely a little bit nonetheless. I think that's the perfect way to put it, especially from what we've seen from the Saints defense year over year, probably over the last 5 to maybe even
4 or 5,
10 years, maybe. Who knows? Either way, as far as the key rankings from the guys over at SFA goes, wrapping up the defensive side of the ball, they're pretty high on this defense. I think it's pretty accurate. They could definitely improve upon it, but they could also definitely regress from these numbers. Front seven comes in ranked as the 11th best unit in the league, and the secondary is ranked as the 14th best unit in the league. Obviously, that rating was put out with Patrick Robinson in the lineup, so that might have ticked way up to right around the 2025 mark. we'll have to see. Jury's still out. We don't know who's exactly going to get the start or exactly the production we see from this defense. But both me and Mags are definitely predicting we see a little bit of regression nonetheless. That all being said, let's quickly touch on the coaching staff. Pretty much the exact coaching staff has been as if you've been watching the Saints for the last decade. You got Sean Payton coming in here for his 16th official season as the Saints head coach. One of the only coaches to rival, if you will, yesterday's coach of the day, Bill Belichick.
When you actually put that on paper, it seems crazy that it's only a 6-year difference.
It does seem kind of crazy that it is that. But either way, now you know that. Also joining him for his 13th official season as offensive coordinator of the Saints, Pete Carmichael. We'll see what he can do with a brand new set of quarterback. Well, not necessarily Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston, but they haven't necessarily been the starter for Pete yet. So he's going to have to work his magic, and so is Sean Payton. Sean Payton's going to have a coaching year and a half if he wants to have any success at all in 2021. And then the defensive coordinator coming in 7th official year, Dennis Allen. This coaching staff is obviously very strong. Sean Payton comes in ranked as the 4th coach in the league per the guys over at SFA, so definitely worthy of that ranking. You look back into 2020 and what he was able to do with all the injuries and loss of key pieces and superstars, if you will, and they still had a decent season and were able to beat the Bears in the wild card round and then lose to the Bucs in the playoffs. So everybody thought they were going to beat the Bucs because they beat them twice during the regular season, but the Bucs and Tampa Tom turned it on when it really mattered. Sure. Either way, that all being said, Sean Payton's going to have to coach identically to that, if not notch that up about 5 levels with the lack of depth, the huge amount of injuries, and the lack of superstar talent on this team now with some of those injuries. So I think they struggle just a bit here, but I think this coaching staff is able to work a little magic, use their puppet strings, if you will, and get these guys whipped into shape and at least have a reasonable record here in the NFC.
I actually personally think Sean Payton is number 2 behind Bill Belichick, in my own personal opinion, as far as coaching rankings. Yeah, just throwing that out there.
All right, well, I would be pretty doggone close up there just because of how well he did coach last year.
And last year really solidified that for me, honestly. Yeah.
I mean, it was insane to see what he did. So obviously he's going to need to do it again, but when you look at it coming in for his 16th season, he's rivaling Bill Belichick. I mean, he's obviously been with the Saints that long for a reason. He's going to be able to get something done. So that does it. Everything for the entire team breakdown. You know offense, you know defense. Well, maybe a little bit. There's still some question marks. We don't even know who the heck's going to be starting in some of those spots. And now you know the coaching staff. Let's keep this show steaming on down the tracks today, my friends. After just a little bit of bump in the road, now we're just cruising. Set cruise control about 75 miles an hour going down a wide open 4-lane highway at this point in time, baby. So get into the second.
75?
How about 175?
Yeah,
Get into the second segment of the day with the Saints' full schedule breakdown. Now, as always, we won't go week by week, but I will tell you that their bye week is in week 6. We will go through the full season week by week betting. Let me restart that. We'll go through the full betting lines week by week once we get into the full season preview. So if you're really wanting to know who they're playing week by week, all that jazz, we'll let you know all that right now in the schedule breakdown. We're just going to give you our full predictions, everything for 2021. First things first, we're going to start it where we always do, and ladies and gentlemen, that is in the division, the NFC South. Now, the NFC South doesn't look as strong as it once did by any means, and we have not been high on the Saints at all because we have covered the Panthers and we have covered the Falcons, and we're right around the corner from covering the Buccaneers. That all being said, I do believe that Sean Payton finds a way to outcoach Arthur Smith in both games. I believe it can happen. Arthur Smith, obviously going into the season, is going to have more of the talent. It already looks like he's going to have more of the talent. But I think Sean Payton finds a way to outcoach him, and he gets both games against the Falcons. The Panthers is very interesting to me. You had the last season's schedule pull up. Did they split with the Panthers last year, or did they?
They beat them both. The last game was in week 17. I don't know. I didn't dive into that. I don't know what to make of that. That could have been
7.
Yeah, but week 7 game was a 27-24 victory. So very, very tight game.
Okay, so I could see him getting both again against the Panthers. I don't know what we expect against from Darnold. That's the biggest thing in my mind, especially against that defense. And then I think the Bucs are going to be way too much for him this year, and they're not going to get either one from him. So it doesn't feel right, just with all the question marks and everything. I feel like they could flub up once or maybe even twice against the Panthers or the Falcons. I just feel like it could happen, but right off the top of my dome, I'm going to give them 4-2 coming out of the NFC South this year.
Okay. I'm going a little bit different, but still 4-2. I am going much like you, a clean sweep of the Falcons. Week 18 is in Atlanta. Those games in Atlanta, even when the Saints are outmatching them, are still pretty damn close. But week 18, I could see that being a big game for the Saints and not so much for the Falcons. So I'll give that 2 wins there for the Saints. And then I'm going to split with both of the other 2 teams. I think, they found some magic both games they played against the Bucs. I think they figure it out one of the 2. I'm not going to say which one, but I will say a split there, and I'm saying a split against the Panthers as well. I think week 2, especially because I think as the season goes on, they'll figure out some of those injuries and they'll kind of iron themselves out and be looking solid as they get into the season. But the first few weeks, week 2, they play Carolina in Carolina. And on the road, I think the Carolina Panthers get that one. So give me a clean 4-2, just a little bit different than you had it, though, partner.
So you think the Carolina Panthers get that one, huh? Especially with the Saints playing the Patriots right the very next week in week 3. So you're thinking a little bit of a look beyond game for the Panthers there. The Saints slip up and the Panthers get the job done.
Nah, I just think they're going to be a little slow coming out of the gates to start the season, the Saints.
All right. So either way, we're both sticking 4-2. Like your opinion there as well. I could definitely see that happening. Let's keep it moving, keep it grooving. The 8 main non-divisional games outside of the NFC South for the Saints this year. They obviously got the AFC East and the NFC East. We don't really know what they'll be either.
I love it.
As far as the AFC East, we have the Bills, the Dolphins, the Pats, and the Jets. You know the drill. I say they get the win over the Jets, but the Jets just start to impress me more and more day by day, and I would not doubt if you're starting to drink some of that green Kool-Aid too with the relationship old Zach Wilson has with your boy. But that all being said, I think they can get the win over the Dolphins, but that game is played in Week 16. It is in New Orleans, so that gives me a little bit more confidence for them, so I think they could get that one. And then I think it's going to be struggle bus city against the Pats and the Bills. As the day goes on here more after we covered the Pats yesterday, I just get higher and higher on them on defense. And I just think that Belichick is going to really, really have some stuff ratcheted up and in his back pocket to just surprise the entire NFL and just say, hey, last year was a fluke. I don't know. Y'all must have forgot is what old Billy Boy's going to be saying.
Sounds exactly
y'all
like
must have forgot. Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. Y'all must have forgot.
Oh, okay, there you go. Y'all must have forgot.
So I will give him, I'll give him a 2-2 in the AFC East.
Okay, I am also going 2-2. I think I am right in line with you. I will say 2-2 either way. I could see them. I am predicting the same as you, but it wouldn't shock me if they beat the Patriots and lost to the Dolphins. But I am predicting Jets and Dolphins are their 2 wins. At home, Week 16, Monday night against the Dolphins. Even without Drew Brees, I am just conditioned to believe that the Saints are going to win every primetime game at home, Sunday, Monday Night Football in the Superdome.
Yeah.
So give me that one. So I'll go 2-2 with you, partner.
All right, so 2-2 from the both of us. So we're both on the same page one way or another. And 4-2, 2-2. All right, NFC East, as we have so promptly coined here at the TTL Pod. The Cowboys game is going to be interesting to me. I still don't know what we see from the Cowboys.
Seriously,
I still
man.
can't put my thumb on it. We covered them weeks ago.
You said that the Saints could be one of the bigger question marks. The Cowboys are my number 1 biggest question mark.
Yeah, I think these two are pretty doggone, doggone equal for me. I think they can scratch out the win against the Giants. I just think the Giants aren't going to be good enough this year. The Eagles as well. I think it's going to be a lot of wheel spinning for the Eagles. Yeah. I think the football team gets that done. I think that defense, who's ever starting at that point, that game is played in week 5. So I would imagine that at the very least, Jameis will get week 1 through week 5. Then they got their bye week in week 6. So if Jameis is in that game, I could see that defense wreaking havoc on him and making him all types of confused. So I will actually give the Washington football team that win. And in a coin flip game, in a last-second, Dak Prescott rolling out to the right. All of a sudden, he sees CeeDee Lamb streaking down with about an arm's length but behind the DB. Touchdown. Cowboys win by 2 points. Some miraculous victory. I'll say they go 2-2 in the NFC East.
Okay, I am going 3-1 here. I think they get the wins over the Giants and Eagles. Eagles actually got them in Philly last year. It was a close game, so I think the Saints
3-1. I'm sorry, that would be 3-1. Or no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got 2-2. Yeah,
Cowboys. I'm sorry. Yeah, keep going. My bad.
Yeah, my bad. So Giants and Eagles. The Eagles got them in Philly last year, actually 24-21. But I think the Saints get a little revenge. It is in Philly again, though. But I'll give them 2 wins there. And then one way or another, I'll give them a split between the Washington football team and the Cowboys. And I lean towards Washington getting that win. And them, that is Thursday night in New Orleans against the Cowboys, week 13 on a Thursday night. So I will give them that win. But much like you, that is a toss-up for me. But nonetheless, I will go 3-1 out of the NFC East.
Also coming off of a Thursday night football game in week 12 against the Buffalo Bills and could be absolutely destroyed. And
one of those has got to be Thanksgiving.
And not be in good shape for a shootout with the Cowboys. That's where my mind's at.
I think the Cowboys are on Thursday night the week before, too. I think that week 12 might be Thanksgiving because there would be there's no rest disadvantage either, or rest advantage disadvantage. So I think both teams are on Thursday night and or Thursday on week 12.
So that's something to think about there. 3-1 for my partner. I'm gonna stick 2-2. Definitely,
that's fair.
Definitely possibility to go 3-1. And honestly, that Cowboys Saints game is just the biggest coin flip for me. The Cowboys are more of a question mark for Riley. The Saints are more of a question mark for me. That's just kind of why we're leaning the way we are. So, moving right along, that's the 8 main non-divisional games. Wrapping it up, the final 3, my friends. They got the Saints, the Pack, and the Seahawks. Now,
you said the Saints, Pack, and Seahawks.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Titans, the Packers, and the Seahawks are who the Saints are playing. That being said, I think they can squeak out the win against the Titans. I'm not sure that the Titans defense is going to be anything to write home about this year, so I think they can squeak that out. Against the Packers, that game is week 1. It's just going to be too much wheel spinning for New Orleans at that point in time, especially against the Pack. I don't care that that's in New Orleans. It is the Caesars Sportsbook Dome now, or something along those lines.
Something like that.
Caesars Dome, whatever it is now. I saw that the other day. So I give the Pack that one for sure, as much as it pains me to say. And then as far as the Seattle Seahawks go, that is their game right out of the bye week, and it's 2 of their harder games on the schedule right there. Week 7, week 8, they got Seattle in Seattle, Monday Night Football, and then Tampa Bay. I think they're going to win that Seattle game, even though it is in Seattle. The 12th man scares me. It really, really does. The only thing why I kind of lean that way is they have a +7 rest advantage, and they're coming off of that. And with Sean Payton being able to do that and have the time to think about that and put together a scheme, I would lean that way. I'm gonna go 2-1 out of the remaining 3. Kind of a lean, but could definitely be 1 and 2.
Okay, I'm leaning towards 1 and 2 here, one way or another. Very similar thoughts to you. But I'm going 1 and 2. I just don't have enough confidence in any of these 3 games. Obviously, I'm going to give the Pack the win in week 1. I can't say too much else about that. But Seahawks and Titans, I think they split one way or another. Both are on the road. They do. As much as I like them in week 7 coming off their bye in Seattle, I just don't know. I do kind of like the matchup against the Titans. So one way or another, I'm going 1 and 2. But these 3 are probably my least confident on all of these breakdowns that we've done as far as their own schedule here. What do you got?
Well, we have done it again, partner. We have done it again. Whether you're with him or you're with me, it doesn't matter. Maybe you think that they struggle a little bit more in the NFC East, or maybe you think they struggle a little bit more in the remaining 3 games. Either way, you got a 10-8 record there for the New Orleans. 10-7 record for the New Orleans Saints. I do apologize. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. 2, 4, 6, 7. Oh, I did the wrong. I write them next to each other. My bad. Yeah, so 10-7. I forgot there's 17. There's not 18. 10-7.
18 weeks.
Either way, Saints' current win total is set at 9 total wins. So we're 1 over. As always, we obviously have a boatload to talk about in the betting preview portion. We will get right into that. We're not going to waste any time because obviously that is a lot to talk about with how many question marks we had with the Saints, and we got them going 1 win over the win total. We got to walk back a little something.
Quite possibly.
Or maybe not at all. Who knows? But we got plenty to talk about. Stick around, the third segment coming right up here in a second. But before we get into that, courtesy of guys over at SFA, they detail this out real nice and neat for us. The key rest and prep advantages or disadvantages for the Saints here this year. They play 2 opponents that have over a week to prepare for the Saints, and then they have 1 opponent that has less than a week to prepare. So nothing crazy, only a 1 difference, but still worth noting. The Saints come in on 2 rest disadvantages, but they also play on 2 rest advantages. So doesn't really matter anything there. Nothing, once again, that you really need to worry about. And then no short week road games for the Saints this year, but they do play 2 games off of a road Sunday night or Monday night football game. And just so you are aware of those games that you know, one of those games is the Buccaneers, and the other game is the Panthers. The Dolphins. Talk about a Week 15 Sunday Night Football against the Bucs. Week 16 Monday Night Football against the Dolphins. I mean, prime time here for the Saints. The schedule makers are not shying away from them, but they did not screw them, if you will, as far as the rest and prep goes. So not something the Saints are going to have to worry about, or another question mark, if you will, on top of all the other ones they're going to have to battle this season. So there you go. You know all of our predictions. You know who they're playing. Let's break it down week by week, talk about it in depth, give you the value we're finding, because, we're sports betting analysts at the end of the day. Handicappers for you good old degenerates out there. Let's get into the full betting preview for the New Orleans Saints here in 2021. Now, before we do, we got to go back to the past real quick and dive into 2020. Now, they had an average line in 2020 of 4.9. They were favored by 4.9 points, so almost 5 points there. And they have come way down into 2021, almost over, actually, 3 full points. They are 1.2 favorites now, giving a 1.5 on average to their opponents. So, obviously, the books are not giving as much respect to this team with the loss of Drew Brees, quarterback question marks, and these numbers might trend down even a little bit more with all these injuries. What do we see from the defense? What do we see from the wide receiver room? Nonetheless, in 2021, they are still favored in 11 games and underdogs in only 6 games. So the books still respect them, even though they are by small numbers. As far as 2020 does go, 10-6 ATS record for the Saints, 12-4 straight up. That does not include playoffs. They were 8-6 as a favorite and 2-0 ATS as an underdog. At home, we're still able to defend home turf even with a lot of injuries week to week. 5-3 against the number, 6-2 straight up. As a home favorite, they were 4-3, so a little shaky there, but as a home dog, tried and true 1-0 ATS. On the road, same exact splits, 5-3 ATS, 6-2 straight up. 4-3 as an away favorite, 1-0 as an away dog. So I think the Saints stay consistent. I think we're going to have to wait and see and not hammer them in right away.
Right.
Not to get into it too much, but I think I would lean definitely Packers early, or maybe even all the opposing teams in the first 5 weeks. Definitely something to think about. So maybe then I got to re-walk back exactly how they get to 4-2 in the NFC South. Either way, that all being said, I still think we see a little bit of success here in the late season, at least against the number. But we might see a lot of success against the game totals. And I think this is something you need to take note of. So crank those headphones up real quick. Average 2020 line for the game totals for the Saints was 48.8. 2021, they moved it all over the place, right back to 48.8. So it is the exact same total, my friends. So let me tell you a little bit how they did in 2020 and what I'm thinking here. 10-6 over-under overall, once again, not including their 2 playoff games against the Bears and Bucks. At home, they were 6-2 to the over, 4-4 over-under on the road. They were 9-6 to the over as a favorite and 1-0 to the over as an underdog. I think we see a lot of overs here from this team once again. We'll talk about it here in just a second when we break down week by week, but they have some favorable over totals, especially against some favorable teams they're playing, and I think it could just be back and forth, 30-30 games, 35-30 games. So that's my opinion there. Last but certainly not least, tell you a little bit about 2020. I don't know if this regresses at all. This is in large part, I do believe, because of Drew Brees, but their records for teasers, 6, 7, and 10 points respectively, 13-3, 13-3, and 14-1. So definitely a team you want to add to your teasers, but I don't know how well they do against the number, especially early. So definitely a team to target and keep your eye on, but with all of the changes, all of the injuries, all of the everything going on in New Orleans right now, I think you got to take a step back and not read too much into those great teaser numbers and want to slam them in right away, especially in the first 5 weeks of the season. So be a little bit tentative there when it comes to that. So that's all 2020. Let's go back to the future into 2021. Don't want to get rid of that or else I wouldn't know what the hell we're talking about today. First things first, let's break it down week by week here, my friend.
Yes, sir.
As you all know, I will tell you all of the spreads here as soon as I get to the right page. Kind of tell you some value that I'm finding early on here, things that I might hammer in or maybe even that I might fade, take the opposing team, and then kick it over to my partner. We'll talk a little bit more in depth. Quickly, some nice high-quality H2O.
Yes, sir. So before you start, week 1 has flipped.
All right.
Week 1 line has flipped.
So, week 1, the Saints are at home hosting the Green Bay Packers. They are getting 3 points.
They're getting 3 now.
It is completely flipped. They are 3-point underdogs against the Pack. So I would definitely buy into that, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. Week 2, they are giving 2.5 points. They are now giving 3 points to the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. New England, they're giving a point in week 3. Week 4, they are giving 5.5 to the Giants. Week 5, this might be my favorite one. They are 1.5 point favorites against the Washington football team. I would not only take the plus 1.5 with the WFT, but I'm taking that money line in Riverboat Rhyme, baby. Coming out of the bye week in week 6, they got the Seahawks in week 7 in Seattle. They are getting 3 points against those Seahawks. They're only getting 2.5 points against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That game is at home in week 8. I would have to hammer in the Bucs minus 2.5. I think they come out swinging. They know what they're getting now. They were able to get it done in the playoffs. And we all know Tom didn't even know what was going on offense half the time during the regular season last year. We saw it time and time again, and he even admitted to it in the postseason. Week 9, they are giving 6 points to Atlanta at home. That does not surprise me at all, but I'm not so fast to run to the window on a touchdown spread on this Saints offense. No. Week 10, they are getting 2.5 points against the Titans. That one is on the road in Tennessee. Then they stay on the road in week 11, go to Philly, but they are giving 3.5 points to the Eagles. And then they it's back home, but they play the Bills in week 11. That has come down now. At the time of writing, it was minus 3.5. They were 3.5 point favorites. Now it's down to minus 3. So maybe something to look.
Oh, I apologize. I thought you were on to week 12. My bad.
Oh, I'm okay. So yeah, it is 11 is minus 3.5. They are 3.5 point favorites against the Eagles. And then week 12, they are 3-point dogs.
That is on Thanksgiving.
Wowza. So it was plus 1.5. They were 1.5. Now they are up to 3-point dogs on week 12, Thanksgiving against the Bills. Week 13, they are favored against the Cowboys by 3.5 points. So that might be something. Oh, it's down.
Oh, no, I'm guessing it's going to come down.
So I'm thinking that might be something where I take the points with the boys. And then week 14, they are giving 3 points to the Jets on the road. Then week 15, they get a touchdown against the Bucs in Tampa Bay. Week 16, they're giving 3.5 to the Dolphins. So potentially that is the game that they get or they do not get as we are predicting. I do like the 3.5 points with the Dolphins, and I think I even like the Dolphins money line in that situation as well. And then week 17, they are giving 6.5 points to the Panthers at home and then close out the season as a 1-point dog to the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, that one not being in New Orleans. Either way, I think it's still a valuable play in week 18. That might be one of the only times you can play them is against the Falcons. But as I said in week 9, I don't know how comfortable I am laying a touchdown, eating that chalk against the Falcons. I might look at the Falcons, but I got to see what we, as one of the first teams we covered, and I got to see a lot first early.
I almost need to go back to the Falcons for a minute.
Yeah.
Reread some of these first few teams.
I don't know. I will see what we see from them, but we'll see what we see. Yeah, no kidding, Colt. But other than that, that's kind of my predictions overall. Some of the value that I'm finding here early, just glancing through the weekly lines. Partner, anything jump off the board at you before I dive into some game totals?
Yeah, nothing crazy jumps out at me. I think they should be decent at home. The one thing that I will say, as far as the over-under, kind of like you said, I think it's going to be real similar to last year, but with if Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback, whatever week it is, I think it's going to be an over team. If Taysom Hill finds his way into the starting job, I think we could see an under team. The 4 weeks that Hill was the starting quarterback when Drew Brees was out last year, only one of the game totals. I don't know what the betting numbers are. I just had this up and was thinking about this as we were going. 3 out of the 4 that he started were under 40 points, so I have to imagine those were all unders, and then the one that did go over 40 points was 45 points, so that one might be a toss-up as far as what the total was.
What games were those, my friend?
So that is weeks 11 through 14.
Just tell me some opponents.
Falcons, Broncos, Falcons, and Eagles.
Falcon Broncos. So those games went under, and over against the Eagles. So, yeah.
So, yeah, if Taysom Hill is the starting quarterback, I am going to say hammer the under just about every single time.
Under.
Yep. So that's really all I can say here. None of these other ones really slapped me in the face just yet. As you said, I think we're going to have to see this team and a couple of the other teams that are on their schedule. So nothing to really draw from it from my perspective quite yet.
Yeah, this might be an under team. I really don't know, kind of getting into the game totals. They don't really have anything super low. Everything is right around, the lowest one is 46.5.
Yeah.
Everything 47, 48, 49, 50, 51.5. And they're all right around there. The most common is 48 and 50. So I think they're setting those because we don't know who's going to be quarterback. We don't know if it's going to be an over team, if it's going to be an under team. So I think the moral of the story, as we kind of went through everything there, is we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to kind of let the Saints write their own story here in the first few weeks of the 2021 season before I think we can run to the window and try and hammer in any bets on them. Now, they might be worth a fade. I wouldn't mind taking the Packers as a favorite. I wouldn't mind taking the points with the Panthers. I might even look at the money line with the Patriots in week 3. So I think the first 5 weeks might be a struggle and a half here for the guys. And I don't know all too much value you can find early. So definitely be tentative when it comes to the New Orleans Saints.
Right. Depending on what that week 4 number is against the Giants, that might be the one out of those first 5 weeks that I might be interested in.
Absolutely. Hey, you did a little burp ski into the mic.
I did not. I didn't. It must have been a different noise. I didn't burp or anything.
You might not have noticed it. Just in case, for future reference. That all being said, keep it moving. Keep it grooving. Partner, I got to ask you. Not that I really even need to ask you.
You don't.
Week 1, it's not way too early anymore. We only have 2 weeks away before the start of the official 2021 NFL regular season. The New Orleans Saints welcome in your Green Bay Packers into the Caesars Sportsbook Dome now, or whatever the hell it's actually called. Are you taking the 3 points with the Saints, the underdogs? Are you going to lay the chalk with your Pack and QB12?
Man, what a tough one. Now, give me the Pack. And also, I'm probably leaning towards the over. That one probably is a lot more biased, but it was 37-30, the game that they played last year, and it was in New Orleans. So give me, and I guess it says 50.5 here. I guess I don't know if that's still the total, but give me the Packers and the over in week 1, partner.
I would have to agree with you as well. Even though I am not a homer on that side, you will find my partner hammering in the Packers regardless of if it's a good bet or not. He absolutely loves his Pack.
50.5 still, yep.
But I do believe you went over.
Yep, over 50.5.
Okay.
Yep.
I do like that side of things, but I do think the Pack -3 is probably the most valuable.
Oh, certainly. Most definitely. Most definitely.
I would lean on that side of things. Definitely, you'll probably find the Pack -3 in my bet slip come week 1, and I can say for certain without him even concurring that you're going to find it in RMags bet slip on week 1.
Sure will.
Didn't even have to concur.
If it's over
There
with
he
the
is.
-3, I might be a little tentative on it, but -3 or lower, give me that action, no question.
All right, so way too early, but actually not anymore. Week 1 pick, me and Mags, we're taking the Green Bay Packers -3. If it ticks up to -3.5, might still be comfortable there as well. And then Mags also likes over 50.5. Be sure to follow us on the Action Network app or check all of our best bets on talkingtheline.com so you can cash these gridiron tickets with us when they're actually live. But for now, let's go back to the season win total. I already told you guys it is set at 9 wins. The over is at +110 and the under is at -130. In my mind, I believe that the over +110 is a trap and a half. We are only over by 1 win. Either way, however you slice the watermelon, we got to 10-7 wins. 10-7 does not give me enough confidence to write out a +110 bet on the over, and I'm not really trying to eat the chalk of under -130, even though it's not much chalk. We still notched out enough wins for them to get over. At the end of the day, I see no value, and I'm going to stay away from the Saints season win total, but be very interested if they actually do hit that over.
Yeah, I kind of echo what you say here. I am not confident enough to hammer this in, even at plus money. You might say, hey, there's the extra. You could get a push if they fall a little bit below your expectations, but I'm not trying to push futures here. We're trying to win them. So for that matter, I will be staying away, but I do think they get to 10 wins. But yeah, plus 110 and not enough confidence. I'm staying away.
All right, so we're both staying away from the season win total. Suggest you do too, but if you must hammer it in, take the over at +110 because 10 wins does seem very attainable. Make or miss the playoffs is almost identical. Yes to make the playoffs is at +110, and no is at -134. So just a little bit more chalky on the no. I don't think I would play that side either. I think they make the playoffs, but I think it's at +110 because when's the last time you can remember the Saints missing the playoffs, even in a down year last year? So I don't expect them to, but I also can't give you 100% certainty that we are going to see them in the 2021 playoffs. So once again, it's a stay away from me.
Yep. Yeah, same as you, man. I think it's very similar to 9 win total. I would be more comfortable with the 9 win total just because 10-7, typically 10 wins get you in the playoffs, but not every single year. So I think the over 9 is a little more valuable, but nonetheless, give me a stay away once again.
All right. Now into the division, conference, and Super Bowl winners. Obviously, if we have a lot of question marks on the aspect of win totals and on the aspect of making the playoffs, probably not a whole lot of value either, but I'll tell you a little bit about them. They are second in the NFC South at +440. Obviously, you don't even really have to imagine that the Bucs are number 1 on odds right now. I think the Bucs win it once again. I think they finally got it figured out, and I think for the first time in a long time, the Bucs do get the job done and repeat. That's my hot take early on in the season. I don't see how they can possibly struggle, but we'll see what happens. As far as the AFC winner goes, or NFC winner goes.
Oh, that's my bad.
Plus 1,600 right now. They're at 7th overall. And then win Super Bowl 56 plus 3,000 odds. They are 12th right now in those rankings. So if you're a diehard fan, maybe worth a look. But I am really on the fence if they even make it to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I'm with you in there. I believe the Saints actually managed to win the division despite the Bucs getting them in the playoffs. The playoff game was in New Orleans, so the Saints actually won that division. But nonetheless, I think the Bucs win that division. So I got no value here either, partner.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a repeat, if I do say so myself. I think it's going to be kind of a complete flippage of the scriptage, if you will, here in 2021. But that does it for all the conference division Super Bowls. We can't just leave you guys without any doggone value. We can't just say, it's a stay away. I guess we can. That is valuable. That is telling you not to waste your damn hard-earned monies. But we found a little bit of side value that might be worth a little bit of sprinkle here, a little sprinkle there. First things first, famous Jameis. If he gets the start and produces, maybe doesn't struggle at all in the first 5 weeks like we are kind of predicted, and they just sail on through the season, and old Sean Payton shocks a bunch of people with his new and improved eye-fixed quarterback, Jameis could have the most yards in the league. This wide receiver room is going to bring a lot of question marks to that. But the last time Jameis was in prime time, rocking and rolling, you'll remember his 30 touchdowns and his 30 interceptions. But do you remember that he led the league with 5,149 yards? Oh, you didn't know that, did you? So, might be something to think about at plus 2,400 odds. That is like the pristine future odds bet. I mean,
this pristine sprinkle.
Plus 2,000, plus 2,600. If you can find some sort of a path for those guys, it is worth a little bit. And I think Jameis could get it done. Obviously, the wide receivers are going to bring a lot of question marks into him being able to do that. But they haven't shown all too many bad plays or all too much regression in the preseason. Obviously, they're not playing the top of the line DBs, but still something to think about.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it would make me feel a lot better if Michael Thomas was fully healthy and to go for week 1. I might actually be, no question, hammering it in if that was the factor. I might be interested in it from an entertainment standpoint because, as you mentioned, he could throw 30 interceptions and he could still be at the top of this list. So, there are question marks because maybe Taysom Hill takes over at some point, or maybe even they do some goofy stuff where if it's a weird matchup like week 5 against the football team, maybe they think, hey, Jameis, you're still our guy, but we think Taysom Hill might give us the best chance in this specific game, so we're going to give him the start here. That could be a possibility because Sean Payton has worked Taysom Hill in when it makes sense like that. So I guess I'm kind of saying to stay away, but I really, from just a sheer entertainment standpoint, I want to hammer it in.
Yeah, I think it is definitely worth a little.
It's $2,400.
A little $5-10 sprinkle.
Yeah.
Why the hell not? Just in case. But you also mentioned he could throw 30 interceptions, so it also might be worth a look at the most interceptions for Jameis Winston to lead the NFL. That's at plus 2,600 odds, so maybe potentially worth a little sprinkle there too. I don't know. He looked awful damn good in preseason week 2, so we'll see if he keeps it clean, keeps it tight, keeps it concise.
Yeah,
he didn't make too many bonehead plays, but we'll have to wait and see. The jury's still out, but it too might also be worth a sprinkle. Out of the two, I personally am probably at the bare minimum going to toss $5 or $10 on Jameis to have the most passing touchdowns because I think it could be an electric sweat and he surprises the hell out of a bunch of people.
Okay. I might throw, just again from a sheer entertainment standpoint, might throw a few bucks on both of these because 2019 he led the league in both of these. So obviously totally different situation here. I'm not going to say this is a great bet by any means because there are a lot of rookie quarterbacks that are going to be seeing some time and could see some issues. And Jameis could, with his eyes fixed with Sean Payton, maybe he's a little less aggressive, but at the end of the day, he's still got a very aggressive mindset, and he falls into some deception here and there. So from a sheer entertainment standpoint, I think I'm going to be playing at least a little tiny little sprinkle on both of these two bets here.
I think I got to play both of them too. I think you are probably going to see these as
so too, man.
Futures in my bet slip wherever you follow my bets. So
with a nice little caveat of sheer entertainment.
Sheer entertainment. We're gonna circle and put a nice star so your boy doesn't forget about
0.25
those.
unit maybe.
All right. Well, there goes the side bets, the future value we found. Also, I hate to keep finding additional value on this, but if Sean Payton can coach the way he did last year, and even better, and get these Saints to the playoffs with what the team he has right now that's shaken out before him, none of his fault, he's got a bid for Coach of the Year. So it might be worth just a little bit of sprinkling on him as well.
I believe it was 2,200.
Right
that's
around,
what you're looking for.
Yeah, right around in that ballpark. Might be fluctuating just a little bit, but the path is there,
it sure
as
is.
we like to say.
I would say I agree with you. I think the path is there. I would say I'm not going to hammer it in because I think the path would be them winning the division over the Bucks, which I don't think is going to happen. But hey, Jameis Winston could be 100% fixed, and maybe they win 13 games once again. I don't know. So the path is there, but I'll stay away.
Yep, wasn't really
For sure
saying anything either way. Just wanted to mention it.
Most definitely.
Let's get the shizo rizapped up. Last and final segment of the day, the fourth segment of the day. One of our favorite segments of the day.
Sure is.
The best fantasy advice coming from the TTL crew is about to be live on your screen with the segment we have dubbed Start, Stash, or Pass. It is now time for that segment. Quarterback room, partner, as always, I'll kick it on over to you. Famous Jameis and Taysom Hill. Are you targeting either one of these quarterbacks in your upcoming draft? And if you do get your hands on them, are you starting them, stashing them, or, hey, forget it, I'm passing on them altogether?
Taysom Hill, I'll start with him. I'm going to pass on him even if he does find his way into the starting lineup. He is not, when they have him in the lineup, it's more of a grinded-out type of offense. And so that's not really going to have you some value from a fantasy perspective. Jameis, however, I'm interested in Mr. Jameis Winston. We talked about it a second ago. Even winning through 30 picks, he led the league in passing yards. He was also number 3 in quarterback fantasy points in that season. So I'm going to be looking for Jameis nonetheless. I think he puts up the yards regardless of what his receiver situation. If you're actually looking from a game-to-game perspective, it might not look great. But I think from a fantasy perspective, James is going to be putting up those numbers that you can count on.
All right. Well, I would have to agree with you in that retrospect. Starting with Jameis, I would say that he kind of falls in that QB2 tier for me. Maybe the higher end with the potential to maybe break into that QB1 ceiling. I don't know how quickly you should act to start him early on in the season.
Sure.
The big thing, too, for me is that I don't know how much he's going to be able to add in the way of his legs.
Okay.
I don't think very much whatsoever. And even though he did lead the league in passing and in pretty doggone close to touchdowns, he was 4th in touchdowns as well. So I think he can get up there. But week to week, are these receivers going to be able to stay healthy, continue to produce, and allow him to get those numbers? He'll be able to rely on AK over the course of the season. I was about to say,
yep.
But outside of that, who can you rely on week to week?
Right.
Look me dead in the eyes and tell me, yep,
sure.
No question
That's
right
fair.
now.
Yeah.
So definitely something to think about. And then I, too, will be passing on Taysom Hill. Now for the running back room, obviously this one's super easy. We don't have to spend too much time at all. If you play fantasy at all, you know where we're going. Alvin Kamara definitely falls in the top 5 running back tier for me once again this year. If you have one of the first 5 picks, you got to pick him up. Do not...
Is he your number 1 overall pick?
No, he's not my number 1 overall pick. Christian McCaffrey would be my number 1 overall pick, no question, especially with the comeback kind of narrative surrounding him as well. And McCaffrey's mindset, I think he has an outlandish season coming into 2021. And then Latavius Murray, I mentioned earlier in the show, could still have the potential to be an elite handcuff. I don't think he's worth a starting spot right off the bat. I think we got a C. Told you too, he's getting up there in age, but he can still get the job done, no question. No hate on him for that at all. But he might be worth a pickup in the very late rounds. I wouldn't go out of your way to get him because he can definitely give you flex numbers from week to week with a very low RB3 ceiling. I wouldn't put it anywhere super high. Maybe one week he does something big, has 2 touchdowns when AK should have been on the field or something weird like that happens. Definitely not worth a starting roster spot, but if you are kind of kicking things around, maybe in a redraft, in Dynasty, don't waste the spot. I would definitely look elsewhere. But Alvin Kamara, RB1, no question. You got to take him if you're in the first 5 picks.
Yeah, I'll start with Murray on my side of things. I will wait till later rounds. I will stash him as a handcuff. And knock on wood, if anything happens to Alvin Kamara, I would absolutely start him if he's the number 1 back, which obviously we don't forecast. And then Alvin Kamara, unlike you, obviously I love Christian McCaffrey, but give me Alvin Kamara as my number 1 pick if I've got the number 1 pick overall. He was the number 1 scorer in fantasy last year. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey was out of town, but I think those two will be competing for it once again. And kind of like what we're talking about this entire show, the receivers being a question kind of plays in hand to that for me. Last year, when they had all those issues, Alvin Kamara was getting around 10 catches a game, 5 to 10 catches pretty consistently. So give me that once again with Jameis or Taysom Hill. It doesn't matter for me who it is. I think he puts up those PPR catches and gets you where you need to be, and it's going to deliver on that number one first overall pick value in my eyes. But I could absolutely go for a toss-up with him and McCaffrey, though. But I lean toward AK.
But he's on AK.
He's AK.
So we will move on into the wide receiver room. You know all of our opinions there. I don't know what kind of value we see out of these guys this season. In my mind, there are two guys that I do believe you can target in some capacity. Based off what we saw in preseason week 2 and week 1 also, he's got chemistry with both of the quarterbacks, Marquez Callaway. I'm willing to take a flyer on him. We haven't seen a whole bunch in his first few years in the league. We've seen a few flashes here or there, but I don't know if we see the elite talent that you might need. So he's going to be a late round guy for me, but I would definitely be willing to slot him in my flex from week to week if he does have a favorable secondary matchup. And then also, I look at Traquan Smith. Traquan Smith, pretty much exact same story. Hasn't ever had a huge elite season yet so far in the league, but he's shown flashes here or there and had the ability. If either Jameis or Taysom is going to throw to somebody, it's going to be one of those two guys in my mind, and I just don't know if you can trust Kawan Brown yet. Deontay Harris might be worth a flex flyer, but if you're really hurting, needing to target a wide receiver, and you're trying to target one out of the Saints, I would either say Callaway and or Traquan Smith, but definitely temper your expectations to no more than flex value. Definitely no more than that.
Okay.
That's where my mind lies. What are you thinking as far as the wide receivers?
Yeah, very similar here. I might pass on Traquan Smith altogether. He had a 7.4 average last year. I think that ticks up a little bit, but I don't think it goes over a 10-point average. Maybe I'll stash him just because, without Michael Thomas, maybe that production rises decent enough to have some type of consistency. Marquez Callaway, much like you, I am high on him. I'm a little nervous about how high I am on him because, much like you, I don't want to overdraft him and then he turns out to be an absolute dud. So I will stash him, and I'm very curious to see where he's going in drafts. And then Michael Thomas, that is the trickiest one as far as, do you draft him high? And I think the answer is no, because you just don't know. If he slips a little bit and he's sitting right there and you don't like some of your other options, maybe, because I think the value, if he does come back and is playing, I think the value gets close to what we used to see from him. Top 5 wide receiver in fantasy value, but I'm just too scared to take him in the draft, if I'm being honest. So I'll pass, I suppose, on him as well.
I am too. That's why I kind of left him out. I wanted to see what you were going to say about him because I don't know. I don't know if he'll even be a Saint this year.
Right.
I don't know if he'll milk out this injury as long as he possibly can with what Sean Payton has come out and already said. I'm sure that didn't put rainbows and fucking unicorns into that relationship if I'm a betting man, and you know me. So, hey, I just don't know if he's going to be a Saint or not at the end of the day, and we might see him on another team. Is it going to be week 6? Is it going to be week 7 after the bye? Is it going to be week 12? I don't know. And you can't, man, theme of the day, question marks. You can't have those question marks going into a fantasy season. So I would say avoid him. Somehow you can get a stash spot on him for sure. Be my guest. But if you need somebody now, need to target somebody now, I think we see a lot of early production from definitely Marquez Callaway. And then also in regards to Traquan Smith, the reason why he ticked down a little bit in 2020, he is a slot guy, and they obviously had Emmanuel Sanders. So he didn't see the field all too much except when he was hurt. Had a decent 2019. I had him on my fantasy team in 2019, and from week to week, you could really bank on him doing something. And I think we see a little bit return to that mean here in 2021. That's where my thoughts are, at least. As far as the tight end room goes, not a whole lot you can talk about here. Obviously, the huge injury preseason, I mean, we weren't even expecting it to happen. Obviously, nobody ever does. But Troutman, he seemed like he was full go, ready to rock and roll, and was playing excellent, and then gets this foot, ankle, shin injury, whatever it is. He has avoided a major injury, but I don't know if that's going to linger through the course of the season, when he's actually going to be back. So that kind of takes Troutman out of the ballpark for me, and I was actually thinking about making him close to my TE1. I thought he could be in that cream of the crop below those guys that are in that top 10 that everybody runs to the board and targets. I thought that he might be a little bit of a sleeper here this year, but I'm going to kind of stay away. I'm going to pass on him for now. I maybe if you can afford to stash a second tight end when he comes back, maybe he produces. And then Nick Van Nett, I don't know if he's worth that cream of the crop top draft pick below the top 10 that I was just talking about. I really don't know if he will. If he will be. I'm going to pass on him as well. I just don't know. Again, theme of the day. There are too many question marks in the tight end room right now in New Orleans for me to waste a potential when I could get a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 spot guy at tight end with one of these two tight ends here this year.
Okay. We are actually very, very close to aligned on this one. Troutman would be the only one that I would have any interest in. If he is healthy, he is going to be one of my sleepers. I'll add some numbers to back up what we're saying here. He had 15 catches last year, obviously nothing crazy, but on 16 targets. So he really proved that when he gets the ball coming his way, he's got the hands to bring it in. So you got like that consistency there. And then obviously Jared Cook was in town last year. Last 2 years, Jared Cook had 7 and 9 touchdowns the last 2 years, both the highest of his long career. So that kind of lends into if Adam Troutman is the guy and he is healthy, then I like him as a sleeper, much like you do, partner, because, they had to have thought that he was going to be somewhere close to that type of production as Jared Cook. Otherwise, they probably would have brought Jared Cook back in.
Yeah.
So give me a sleeper spot, and if he's starting the season on the out list, give me a red flag on him for sure.
Most def.
And apparently you and I will be jockeying for him once he does come back into town.
It does appear that would be the case once this old league starts back up.
Sir.
But nonetheless, we're going to talk about a group of people that don't get enough love, in my opinion. They're people too. That specific group of people would be the kickers, and actually some value as per usual here in New Orleans. They might end up being a field goal team. I don't know. But Will Lutz always is solid fantasy-wise. Saw a little bit of off-tick week-to-week in production last year, but I think he finishes top 10 once again. He'll have no problem. One thing that concerns me, though, is they did bring in Aldrich Rosas for a little bit of competition, so I don't know exactly what they're planning there, so maybe be a little tentative on how fast you pick up Lutz.
Sure.
Obviously, he's one of the top 5 kickers off the board year to year, at least top 10, if not top 8 maybe, but I don't know if Aldrich Rosas, I don't think he takes that job, but that is very concerning with how good of a kicker Lutz has been.
Sure.
Maybe it's just get a little fire underneath his ass from some of those misses last year.
Sure. I got no thoughts on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll be right there with you.
Wrapping it up, defensive side of the ball for start, stash, or pass. I will pass on the Saints defense for now. I just think they're going to be overdrafted. I think they're going to be one of the first defenses off the board just because of their consistent production. Now, do I think Dennis Allen can fill some of the holes, fill some of the gaps? Sure. I think that they can have a very productive season, but I don't know if it's going to be a productive fantasy season. I don't know that we're going to see all the picks that we once saw, all the sacks that we once saw. There's going to be a lot of issues in some of those areas, and that's what you need from a defense in fantasy. I don't got to tell you that. So I'm going to pass with a little bit of a stash behind that, maybe if I can get it. But in my mind, I just see them being one of the first 3, 4, 5 defenses off the board. And I don't think they're going to be worth that this year.
Yeah, much like you, partner, we are very close here. They were number 6 defense last year. So for me, I would like to have them on my team, but much like you, I think they're going to be overdrafted. I'm not going to be drafting them in that top 6 or even top 8 defenses. If they fall beyond that, which much like you, I don't think is going to be the case, I will stash them as my number 2 defense. So for that matter, I guess it's a stash. But yeah, I think much like the unit on the field regressing like we predicted, I think we see some little bit of regression, maybe just outside that top 10 defensive range for fantasy this year.
Well, we are pretty much doggone spot on there.
Very close.
You would be correct. All right, my friends, that officially does it. Everything for start, stash, or pass, every single positional grouping, and where we believe you should be targeting them, or maybe just avoiding them altogether in your upcoming drafts and fantasy seasons.
Throw them in the trash.
There you have it, my friends. The official 2021 New Orleans Saints season preview. Now, we ain't got really much else to discuss. We got a little bit of RMags Sidebar action to get to. We got a little bit of banter to be had in between. And then, obviously, I got my motivation minutes to dish out to you guys. But before we do all of that, let's send the New Orleans Saints into their 2021 season the only way we know how. So, without further ado, to head coach Sean Payton, Pete Carmichael, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. We wish you the best of luck in your 2021 coaching seasons. To all of the offensive players, high-flying, hard-hitting electricity running through your offense, and nothing but smash mouth, downright dirty defense on that defensive side of the ball. We wish you all the best of luck, each and every one of you in the New Orleans Saints organization, and we hope you have a rather successful 2021. Good luck and Godspeed. All right, my friends, that officially does it. The full New Orleans Saints 2021 season preview. Now, before we get into anything else, talk a little nonsense, get a little wild, little Talking the Line podcast after hours, if you will, as it kind of gets to going. We're right on time, about 11:33, so didn't do all too bad. We kind of powered through there in a few spots,
seriously.
but didn't do too bad. So, got a little bit of time. We'll wrap it on up, get y'all on out of here. Partner, anything burning on the brain, melting on the heart, festering on the soul that you have been dying to get out to the kind folks that joined us on episode number 111, the 111, on this beautiful August 26th, 2021.
Alrighty, so let's look at some career stats, but in a certain stat that is a little interesting for this guy, Mr. Jameis Winston. 5 seasons so far as a starter, does not include last year when he was not the starter, obviously. Where, unless you've already looked at my notes here.
Yeah, I did. My bad.
You did? Okay. Where would you have ranked Jameis Winston on the all-time interceptions list?
I don't even know where I would have began with that.
Did you see the number, though?
I saw like it's in the hundreds, but
Okay,
I wouldn't have even known where to begin.
Right. And I was surprised it was this low. It's tied for 142nd with 88 interceptions. I thought it was going to be a little higher, especially with that 33. It was actually 33 interceptions in 2019. But if he keeps up this clip or even 15 a year, he's going to be moving up that list very damn fast. He has 22, 28, 19, 19, and 33 interceptions in each of those first 5 seasons.
Holy cow.
15 interceptions, you would say, is a lot of interceptions. That would be a big ol' improvement for Sean Payton with Jameis Winston in the lineup this year. So he's tied with, I believe he was 11th active quarterbacks, which also surprised me. But, a lot of these other quarterbacks have around a decade or more under center compared to Jameis. He's actually only one behind my man Aaron Rodgers, but my man Aaron Rodgers got 10 more years under his belt. So, interesting split there. But, have to imagine he's going to put up at least 12 to get him over that 100 interception threshold this year.
I would have to say you are correct. And in my head, I would put him maybe like around 50 or 60 just from what we've seen.
Yeah.
Like just, and
But
the
he's only
talent,
5 years.
Like 152 in 5 years or 142 in 5 years. I mean, that's still holy hell.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of quarterbacks in NFL history were pretty damn bad. So
that's a lot of picks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of picks.
I don't even think he cracks the top 100 even if he throws 20 interceptions. So, it's going to take a few years, but he'll be moving up that list, no question about it.
So you heard it here first. Maybe not the list you want to be featured on, but Jameis Winston is featured on nonetheless. The most interceptions in NFL history. He is currently 142nd with 88 total picks. Thank you very much for your sidebar, partner. All right. Outside of that, got a big loaded show for you tomorrow. Motivation Minutes coming up here in just a minute. Couple of updates, everything there. A loaded show coming up. If you haven't watched any of the show or missed any of the portions here this week, Giants and Jets tomorrow, both New York teams, and we promise to be as nice as possible to you New Yorkers. We promise. All right, just lay off of us. We understand there's a lot of potential issues could be coming here in 2021. Sure. But we'll be nice. We promise. We promise. And then college football coming right around the corner. We'll probably have some bets, honestly, this weekend.
Most definitely.
I'm going to dive into some different stuff. I got to get back to blogging. We have just been so damn busy on the opposite end of the spectrum, all the back-end stuff. So the little bit of that additional content's kind of taking a dip. But, hey, once we get back into full swing, a couple things, we get about 2-3 weeks down the road here, it's going to be back to pretty much business as usual. So don't y'all worry about that. But that all being said, we have a full CFB preview show, college football, on September the 3rd. And then we'll be back to business as usual that following Monday. And then that Wednesday, September the 8th, if I said November, I meant September the 3rd. September the 8th, that'll be our last NFL special edition, once again, closing with the Washington football team. And then back to business as usual, the Talking the Line podcast, as you know it, my best bets, Mag's best bets, special play of the day, money line dice roll of the day, everything that you have come to know and love, and also a little rants and reactions sprinkled in between there, because I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about week to week, and we'll obviously have a few less picks than we typically would.
Right.
So back to business as usual come 9/9, and then throughout there, we also will have a few other changes in regards to business as usual. Be a nice little update here coming right around the corner. And if you did tune in yesterday, we did have a little hint going. I said I might have to confirm something yesterday to see if we can officially say that maybe around 9/8 would be a good day for you guys to kind of keep on the mind. Maybe just like put a half circle around the date on the calendar. You don't have to fully circle it, right? You know. Well, it does look like you could connect the other half of that circle. It does appear that that circle can now become a full circle. It doesn't just have to be a nice little half circle around that 8. What the fuck? Gee, Merry Christmas. I had a freaking fly or something.
Seeing ghosts out here.
It just got in my eyes. All right, so back to it. Now you can connect that half circle into a full circle around September the 8th. I'm not going to tell you why yet. It's not going to be early in the morning. It's not going to be during our regularly scheduled programming. It's not going to be really out of the blue at all. It'll kind of just flow right perfectly with everything we do. One thing I will tell you, though, is it will be every Wednesday following that Wednesday, September the 8th. That's all I'm telling you today.
Wednesdays, baby.
That's all
Wednesdays.
you're going to get. That's all you're going to know. So what you got to know mainly is that it's a go. September the 8th is a go. We're looking good. Everything's looking great. Make sure you are tuned in and ready to rock and roll when it comes that time. At least to the pod. Maybe just at least to Twitter. If you ain't got time to stop by the Daily Show at that point in time, stop by the Twitter. We'll be putting the updates about what's coming all next week. It'll be nothing but hype all next week. You guys will be finding out about it very shortly. But if you are a TTL faithful, you stop by the Daily Pod, you're obviously going to find out about it first. So, just so you know. Outside of that, checking the notes, making a list, checking it twice. Going to find out who's naughty or nice. Everything's looking good. Everything's looking great. Make sure you stop by this episode's description. Hit that link tree. Check out the talkingtheline.com website. See all of our additional content, all types of good stuff on there. You'll also see all of our social platforms and additional content outside of the website. So you, as always, can consume all of that whenever you want, however you want, everything in between. Make sure if you are looking for our best bets of the day, you follow us on the Action Network app. My partner told you in take 1 of today's episode, but I am at cash_with_Colt. Riley is at RMags in all caps. And then once we get back to business as usual, please ignore the units right now. Got a little bit off. We gotta go back and look because that just ain't doggone right. But you can follow the best bets at the day at Talking the Line. Outside of that, if you don't have the Action Network app, you can just go to talkingtheline.com, hit that Today's Best Bets tab, and we make it so easy for you. You can actually bet from your favorite sportsbook right off of our website. So check that out if you haven't already. But that does it, partner. Any late breaking news, anything you got on the mind I didn't get to before I dive into my motivation minutes of the day?
Some minor news, guys who are at practice, aren't at practice. Rondale Moore, add him to the list of players, whoever this is that tweeted this, not seeing him on the practice field for open portion of practice. So, still a little question mark on Mr. Rondale Moore, who I know you are very high on, or very much a fan of this year.
Yeah, but also another guy I'm very high on.
What you got?
My guy, Joey Sly.
Oh, I didn't see this.
Apparently, the Panthers have traded the Giants a conditional 6th-round pick for kicker Ryan Santoso for a little bit of competition as my boy Joey apparently has had a little bit of struggles here in the early season.
Oh, no.
I have never heard of Ryan Santoso, so I'm a little bit concerned as to what might be happening here for the future of my man Joey Sly.
20 hours ago, Panthers Wire. Panthers kicker Joey Sly struggles in practice versus Dominic Everly.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little bit worried about my boy Joey Sly now. Oh, shit.
So that must have been someone else because they signed Dominic Everly yesterday. So they really
they're bringing in another
Panthers
guy.
might be having some kicker issues in 2021. I don't like to hear that because that's they're going to be in some damn tight games. That is an actual
and
big
Joey
factor.
Sly's a dog and a half. What the hell happened to him? I got to call him up, see what the deal is.
Joey, buddy. Joey.
All right. That does it. All the banter, all the nonsense. Let me get a quick sip.
I'm not as high on, I'm not as big of a homer for Joey as you are, but I do like the guy, man. That's
I'm a
that's
homer
tough
and a
to
half.
see.
I'm a homer and a half. Either way, that's all the banter. RMags Sidebar, the full New Orleans Saints 2021 season preview. We got one thing left to cover. You know the drill. You need a little extra inspiration, motivation. You stuck around this long. It's time for it, my friends. Colts Motivation Minutes are live on your screen. All right, so if you don't follow me on Twitter, or maybe you didn't see this yet this morning, you weren't on Twitter, I retweeted a newsletter. And it is from somebody that I have an immense amount of respect for. And maybe someday in the future, potentially, I could get him to maybe a little guest appearance here on the Motivation Minutes. We actually have that capability now with some other stuff we're working on. So maybe we might have him on. We'll see what we can work out. But I wanted to give him some credit where credit is due today, and that's Michael Lombardi. If you don't know who Michael Lombardi is, I suggest you go look him up. Former GM for the Cleveland Browns organization, has held just about every position in the NFL that you could possibly want to hold. He is a fountain of knowledge when it comes to the pigskin and everything in between. And he is the Paisan of the Pat McAfee show when it does come to gambling as well. He is very, very smart. He has so many connections in the league. He just in and out everywhere. So that all being said, you kind of know a little bit about him. He has a daily newsletter, which kind of actually inspired us to put out the Talking the Line daily newsletter. Kind of surprising there. Not really at all, as everything kind of comes full circle here. But it's called The Daily Coach, and this is a 100% free plug. I just enjoy the hell out of this. You can go to substack.com and search The Daily Coach and just put in your email. They won't send you spam. They won't do anything. They send you about a 3-paragraph inspirational, motivational kind of blog every morning. And this morning, I shit you not, guys, it was exactly what I've been talking about all week long. I tweeted a specific line from it that I will talk about here in the minutes, but what I wanted to do for you guys today is just kind of share with you how funny it is, how the world works, how many people there are that think this way too, and maybe in a way put some backing behind my words, because I never like to tell you guys that I'm a Swami or I'm a genius or I know what I'm talking about. I never like to say that at all. I just like to share what I kind of know and has helped me survive life. And then when I find somebody who has a massive following and knows way more than I do saying the same things I am, makes me feel real good inside. So I want to share some of those things with you guys today, and hopefully you'll pick up the Daily Coach and start getting emails in your inbox every single morning. You can start getting a little additional inspiration and motivation on top of my motivation minutes every single day. So quickly, just getting into them, some of the brief excerpts I wanted to tell you about today, and then just kind of give you a little rabbit hole just to kind of mill on them and think about, and maybe even go check them out yourself. So today's title was How are you spending your 86,400? And if you guys aren't familiar, 86,400 is the amount of seconds that we have in a day. So pretty powerful stuff, and obviously leads right into choosing your own happiness. You're in control of your own happiness. What are you doing right now to make sure that you get to that happiness? And you can go on and on and on about all of that. But he wrote about, and sometimes it's Michael Lombardi. They have another couple other guys that write there as well that are just equally as great writers. So I'm not exactly sure who wrote this one. They typically don't say. However, they had some really good stuff that I wanted to pull out here and just kind of have a little bit of perspective on it and let you guys go on and get about your day. So first things, he says, the choice is always within our control whether to live uncommonly and venture beyond just showing up, being average, working hard, and playing by the status quo. Will you dare to have the courage to lead a life that is true to yourself and not the life others expect of us? What did I talk about yesterday? Not listening to other people's opinions. Not just doing what everybody else is doing because everybody else thinks it's right. not worrying about every other's status quo for what we should be as a human being, but making our own status quo because of our own happiness. So that's the first one I wanted to share with you. Really powerful stuff there. Do you have the courage to lead a life that is true to yourself and not the life others expect of you? That really hit me this morning. Next one. While the narratives are strategically packaged and streams of information constantly tell us that we should be, how we should look, how we should think, how we should behave, and where we should be in our lives at certain ages, understand we are the captain, storyteller, and designer of our own destiny. It's what I tweeted this morning. Understand we are the captain, storyteller, and designer of our own destiny. That's how I started this week.
I like that one a lot.
You are in charge of your own destiny, your own happiness. That's the theme of this entire week, and it slapped me right in the face. So I had to bring it here for you guys. And then a few more. I got 3 more brief excerpts for you. The next one here, at this moment, we are presented with the sacred gift of life to discover and rediscover who we authentically are. So you put that together, understand we are the captain, storyteller, and designer of our own destiny, and are presented with the sacred gift of life to discover and rediscover who we authentically are. Woo! Hey. I don't know about y'all, but that got me in the feels and a half this morning. And then he goes on to say, let's not delay our personal transformation just because we do not have all the answers. On the other side of fear are unlived moments and liberating experiences for self-discovery. What did I talk about? You're going to open that door. It's going to be scary. It's going to be dark as hell. You're not going to have a clue what's happening, but as you get closer and closer into that darkness, your eyes start to adjust, and the word he uses here, liberating. The feeling of liberation that you have when you make the choice to choose happiness, chase your own version of happiness, and not listen to what anybody else is saying. The feeling of liberation is bar none. And then he wraps it up here with something extremely, extremely powerful. And if you don't remember anything from this here today, or if you don't go out of your way to go and read it, remember this. Because when it's all said and done, agonizing over things that don't matter won't matter when our time stops being deposited into our bank account of life. For those of you in the back, because when it's all said and done, agonizing over things that don't matter won't matter when our time stops being deposited into our bank account of life. What I tell you guys every day, man. I mean, that's it. And I just wanted to share that with you guys today because that re-hit me as I was reading that. So I hope it did the same for you guys. It just lets me know I'm on the right path. It hopefully lets you know that, hey, you're on the right path too. If you're stopping by Colt's Motivation Minutes just to get a little extra something, I have these things I call path moments. And I suggest maybe you start looking for them in your life too, as you start to live your life with this mindset that I share and try and shed light on every single day. You have so many opportunities in this life. So many opportunities. And they are all right there for you. You just have to make the choice to go and chase them. That's it. That's it. This is good stuff. I hope you guys go and check out the Daily Coach. Again, free plug. No affiliation whatsoever. Just absolutely love his work. Love their work over there. And anything football-wise that Lombardi does, I'm a huge fan of. So if you need a little extra inspiration, motivation on top of the motivation, inspiration I dish out for you, I suggest you go check out the Daily Coach. And, one more time, just because I think it's the most important thing here, I'll say the two that really, really matter the most in my mind. To understand we are the captain, storyteller, and designer of our own destiny, as we are presented with the sacred gift of life to discover and rediscover who we authentically are. And because when it's all said and done, agonizing over the things that don't matter won't matter when our time stops being deposited into our bank account of life. Hope that did stuff for you guys as much as it did for me today. I will continue to bring you guys motivation minutes and bring you guys a little bit of extra inspiration and everything that I can to help us all survive this thing we call life on a day-to-day basis, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many flaming arrows are coming across the battlefield, no matter how many blades we got to dish out to all the haters out there. I'm going to keep doing it for you guys. So with that does it for my motivation minutes of the day.
Good stuff, my man. I mean, I obviously can't add too much from that as well, but yeah, a lot of huge takeaways, a lot of validation on what you've been saying all week. So always good stuff from you and the Daily Coach as well.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I guess kind of the validation is where I really wanted to go with that, and just hear it from somebody else too. I'm not. Sure. I would say I don't claim to be a Swami. I don't claim to be a genius. And if somebody else out there is saying it that I know that knows way more than I do, maybe open them ear holes up just a little bit wider. I don't know. Who am I? Nobody. Just a goof that talks about sports bets and football teams for the last 22 days in a row. So either way, who am I? Just kidding. I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate you stopping by my motivation minutes and sticking around, listening to all those every single day. But for now, let's send you all on about your way. We have been here longer than we usually due to the technical difficulties we faced this morning.
Sir.
No problem. Got through a show nice and easy. We're rocking and rolling now. So, as always, it's time to get on out of here, get about our days, and let you folks do the same. So, ladies and gentlemen, degenerates, gamblers, fans of the New Orleans Saints, fantasy football bettors, fantasy football players, NFL bettors. I meant NFL bettors the first time, but you understood what I was saying. Anybody I might have left out, far and wide, for myself and Mags. Thank you so much for stopping by episode 111 of the Talking the Line podcast. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts, all your support, all of your following. We are only going to keep making TTL Sports Media bigger and better for each and every one of you. We do this for you, and we ain't stopping no time soon. So thank you, thank you, thank you once again from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you have a spectacular rest of your Thursday, unless you have other plans. Hey, partner. Let's cash some tickets.